Kof-based Tamuz, Tashin Samech Tes, Samech Tes from Leather Shav on Ahmed M. Gimel.
Right, so we saw the Pirush in Nivka Hara Zeisim, in the Pasuk in Zechariah Novi, that the Etzem Hadaimim Li'osid Lovei will be opened and split. And we saw that the Atzmus Hatainu Varotzen HaPoshut, Moshe Hula Maila Mim Kera Chochma, Yoyer Begilui Beginnes HaChochma, and that'll be loyal Alidei Tzmicha is Pastors or Alidei Labush Mosach Opav Seklau. And we saw that would be the Gilead, the Etzem, Sha'oz Ein HaChochma Bebchinas Metzias Yesh V'Dover, Klau, B'Bli Shinui Mahus. We saw that the Parsa is a Shinui Mahus between the two Madrigas, L'Maleh Ma'Parsa, and after the Parsa becomes like a new word, so it's in from Shinui Ha-Mahus, even though it's not another Mahus, but it's called Shinui Ha-Mahus because of the tremendous alteration in the intensity of the Gilu of the oil. However, the Yosid, when the Etzem Mokiv Shurish Ha-Atzmi, of all these inyanim, which is the Etzem Hatainu Harotzen, when that will be Begolui, then the Inyan HaChochma is, I hope you're on something useful and positive, yeah? Huh? You're in the Varsa, yeah? Right, well, that's positive at least. Stel ze beginnen Tzmicha me ayin leyesh, elegama chochma u beginnen ayin de kesa atzmoi mamish. We saw that there won't be any hevdil alidei parsa between the etzem, the mokir ha'atzmi, and chochma itself. And so we saw that was the joining together, liyosid, or the makiv, and the pnimi, she'iyah b'mashiach. Reformation is earlier, we already mentioned that. And be'ikah that gilu will be b'zman Moshiach, as was brought down from the Hemshech Mishnun Tes. Shehu etzem atainug, and there was missing a word. The ayin of Kesa is the etzem atainug, shenivdal be'erach miliyesh moker, l'metzias mahus seichel veha soger. So we saw that the diuk bezer was that Chochma as a sphere, even Chochma stimura, as it is l'mayla m'sphere as a Chochma, or they are at least a mocker to what eventually becomes Seichel and Hasoger, even though they're not Seichel of Hasoger. Even Chochma, how it is as a sphere, is not Hasoger, and it's not even Seichel via Hasoger. It's even of Oyer and the Kuda Achmias, of the whole Hasoga included in a bright, intense, what's called a lightning flash. It's called, that's the Loshen in Siddur Borach HaMavri. So it's not Seichel Mamish in the normal sense, but it's the Mokeh of Seichel. Afterwards, there's a further process whereby the Nakuda goes down and is eventually broadened and taken into detail in Bina. However, if we say that what we're talking in Etzem Hatainu, well, that's mudal from to be even a mocker to the Indian of Chochma, and therefore it can't be a mocker for Seichel and Hasoger. Therefore, when I get to the Seichel of Hasoger, we use the expression Metzias Mahus Seichel. Because Metzias means already an existing entity which has got its own, as it were, yeshus, and its own way of being apart from the etzem of the mocker. And that's the word Metzias. Over here we're going to say that the Gilui or the Mokke, the Gilui will be the Etzem Mokke, how it is in the Atzmas, then you can't talk about Metzias or Seichel. You can only talk about how the Indian of Chochmah, which is a Mokke auch upon him, will be to Seichel, and that will be Kolul inside the Etzem and will be one thing with it, or Machiv and or Pnimi. And therefore he said that's what we see, that Leosid, the Pasik has it, in Yirmiyah, the famous Pasik, that the Aveda will be Haskel v'Yodaya Oisi, that we will literally know and appreciate Etzem Ein Seif. Oisi, meaning the Eivshter speaking about him, his very essence and his very self. So Leosid, that will be possible because the Koyach HaChochmah will be one thing with its Moche Atzmi, and they'll be both together. So the very fact that Leosid there will be Haskel v'Yodoya Oisi, that indicates that the Pshat in the Indian is not that the Indian of Chochmah will become Botel, and there won't be any Chochmah and any Bina anymore. Well, to a certain extent that will be true in a way. The emphasis is that will be true. But le'idoch gisa, it won't be true, because there will be nisha etzel adam, the power of appreciation, in other words, he will still have a koyach hachokma and a koyach hasoga in seichel. The Indian is that those will be full of a direct appreciation of the Eibishter, which can't be described as the normal way that he would learn it Achshov. The normal way he learns it is for going back to all these different parasas and all these, and then he gets some idea. Leosid, the very essence from whence all Inyonim come, the Hainu, the Atzmas itself, well, that will be together with the Chochmah, and the Chochmah will be able directly to appreciate or that Inyan Ha'atzmi, and therefore the two will be together, not that one will rule out and absorb the other altogether. So therefore he said that's the pshat, that Yirmiyah says that the ultimate perfection is Haskel v'Yodeya Oisi, that the minds of the humans will be able to know me directly, how I am in my very essence, Leosi. But that's a very big chiddush. And that means that ultimately Leosid, it's not a pshat that the human being is going to be another human being altogether, be some sort of Malach Elyon or Chayzatayn Malach van Olam Abrio created there. That's not the case. The human being will remain a Odom, the Gashmiz, Elam Hazeh, even though, of course, Elam Hazeh will change a lot. And he will also change a lot. Also, he'll be a Odom, Kipshutei, and he'll have the same basic koyches. He'll have a moyach and he'll have a seichel in the moyach. Just that seichel and how it is in the moyach now, but that will appreciate and directly be aware of Atzmas Ein Seif. And that means that the Gilui from the Mokke of the Atzmi will be together with the Chochmah, not that it will just completely absorb it. And therefore, the Novi is very medactic to say that the ultimate shleimus is that you will come to appreciate and to know the Atzmas Ein Seif through the media that you have now, but they will be together with the Ha'atzmi. Okay, by Yeda Kol Poland, we told the famous story of the Alter Rebbe, how Leosid it's going to be the Gediyah mitzad the Adam, how he is. Adam Lamata ki atopi altoi. He will know that you, meaning Atzmas Ein Seif Mamish, you brought him about, and he will be aware, and that will be so high as Pnimi Atzmas Haboirei et Atzmas Shirak Bekoirei Livri as Hayeshva Me'ayim Vayafes Amuk. But that will be there in the appreciation, and it'll even come down v'yovin kol yitzur, even on a lower aspect of him, how he's only just like a lower level in Bria. Even there in the Bina, he'll also appreciate. In other words, his Bina will be on a incomparable higher level, because it'll be together with the Etzem, and that's what we saw. Even the Seichel Vasoge will also be Niklal in that ability to understand. And therefore he said, the Bechinas Chabad, because the Chochma Bina and Das, the Klolos Inyan of the Moyach, Yeh Bechinas Atzmus Mamish, it'll be all together and not batil, but one together with the Inyan of the Atzmas. V'zeu sha'chochma Yeh Kemoi Bechinas Ha'ayin de Keser Mamish. And what did we say was the ayin of Keser? Ayin of Keser was Etzem ha'oyin, Etzem ha'tainug v'haros. So that's the union of ayin de Keser. And then he goes on to bring it. Dugma v'dugma l'zeh hu v'Hashem nosan chochma l'shleimah. There's a pasuk in Malachim, in chapter Hey of Malachim Aleph, where it brings that Shlomo HaMelech, when he became king, the Eivshter literally said to him, and he became king in a tremendously high fashion after having been instructed by his father David. And so the Eivshter literally says to Shlomo, what is it you really, what do you want to ask from me? It's a tremendous moment of auguries moment. Ask me whatever you wish, and I will, I'm prepared to give you, Kaviel. In other words, ask what you want. So Shlomo says that he wants Chochmah. He asked Hashem should give him Chochmah Hashem. He should give him Chochmah and knowledge of the Eivshter. So then the pasuk comes along, but there's two pasukim. Oh, this is the final pasuk. This is the pasuk where it's written just before he built the Beis HaMikdash, Mamish. But there's an earlier pasuk at the beginning of that chapter where it's written V'Elikim Nosan Chochmah L'Shleimah. Here it's written V'Hashem Nosan Chochmah L'Shleimah. And there it's written, just very briefly, where it's written Hashem Nosan, that's all it's written. Hashem gave Chochmah L'Shleimah, and then he turned and he spoke with the king of Lebanon at that time, Chiram, and he told him he wants to build the Beis HaMikdash. He wants to take a lot of things out of his area and to bring all sorts of special stones and other things. So they made an agreement and like a a peace agreement, kaviochel, with all sorts of inyanim, and it was very much clear. It led to the sending of all the workmen to bring all the stones for the Beis HaMikdash. So it's written Hashem Nosan Chochmah L'Shleimah. Earlier in the pasuk, it's written more in detail how Shlomo asked for Chochmah, how Hashem agreed and gave him Chochmah, and then it praises the wondrous Chochmah of Shlomo HaMelech and said that his Chochmah was more than all other men and all other peoples on the world, and all sorts of tremendous praises which are given to the Chochmah of Shlomo. So the Rebbe said, what does it mean, that implication, V'Hashem Nosan Chochmah L'Shleimah? Oh, that's mashma, that Shlomo, the way he was, Amoyach, and the way he was a king, albeit, but Adam, that he received as a gift from the Eivshter, Chochmah, how it is by the Eivshter. In other words, the way Hashem, what's already the Shem Havaya, the way he has Chochmah, or the Shem Ha'etem, the way Kaviyohu he has Chochmah, that's the way he gave it to. He gave it to Shlomo HaMelech. She'etzem b'chinas ha'Chochmah, or the very essence of that level of Chochmah, which is the Chachim v'lei b'Chochmah Diyah, what that's the in and Kaviyohu, the Eivshter is or has Chochmah, he unites with Chochmah, but it's not our understood Chochmah. It's not the Chochmah that we understand. Well, that was the Chochmah that was given to Shlomo as a present. V'hu shenimshach kamoi shehi mamish b'nishmas Shlomo. Well, that Chochmah, v'loi b'Chochmah Yediyah, well, that came down and was nimshach without any alteration, klal, from the way it is in Chachim v'lei b'Chochmah Yediyah into the neshama of Shlomo. V'lochein hoyes ha'Chochmasei muvdeles be'erech mi'Chochmas sha'ach Chachomim. And that's what's brought down in the early part of the chapter, that the Chochmah of Shlomo was incomparably different than all other wise people in that generation, because he mipnei shenitan loy etzem a Chochmah. He was given the very essence of the Chochmah. Ube'ofen naila mizeh. Oh, sorry. He got the very essence of Chochmah. Ube'ofen naila mizeh yeh b'Mashiach. Even higher than that, and even more superior than it was by Shlomo, it'll be by Moshiach. Ksiv Be'er, this is the famous pasuk in Yeshaya, which is written B'negeh to Moshiach. So he says, Hine Yashkil Avdi, that my servant, meaning Melech Moshiach, will understand, he will gain Seichel, Yashkil, Yorum V'niso, V'gavoya me, Ui. This is written in the pasuk that it will be elevated and completely exaltated in the most highest possible form. In other words, that his ability to grasp and to express Chokhmah will be incomparably higher than anything we know. That's going to be by Mashiach. Shehi b'chinas ha-Chokhmah k'moi shehi ba'atzmus oyer pnimius ha-keser b'chinas ayin mamish shebo lamata b'li tzimtzum v'helem klal. It comes down into the mind of the person concerned without any tzimtzum or any hiding. What we sing those two in Yonim, tzimtzum is one inyan and helem is the inyan of parsa. Klal she'ein parsa mafsik klal liyos bo b'derech hishtaushus. There's no parsa which interferes, as it were, between them. That would make it come by way of hishtaushus m'china achreina sheba elyon, from the lower level of the elyon into the tachtoin. Ela k'moi shehi, exactly like it is, l'mayla be'elyon ba'atzmus ha'matzil, in the very atzmus of the Eivsha, how he brings everything closer to it, how he makes everything appear. He bo lamata b'tachtoin, into the lower makabel, da'ainu ba'elam ha'atzil. That comes down into elam ha'atzilus, without any parsas, without any yonim. And then we'll see further, then it goes down from Atzilus into Bria, and it's all the way down, and it's Meir into the mind either of Chacham Shlomo, into either Shlomo Melech or Moshiach, or as we'll see a little bit later, all those will be Mekabel from Moshiach. They'll all have pretty close to the same Madrega. Therefore, Mashiach simply won't be to teach in the normal way. He will just be Megala what he has, and to a certain extent, everybody will have to clean, everybody will be capable of receiving it. So here, if we look carefully in the Lashonos, L'chera, there's a sort of a tricky change in the Oifen, the Biur, which L'chera needs a slight explanation. We need to sort of be medactic. What at the beginning, the Rebbe said that the inyan of the daimon was killed the moche v'shoyresh of everything, and he called it the inyan of atzmus hatainug v'rotzen haposhut kamoshu l'mayla mayla mim koyer ha'chochma, completely beyond the whole inyan, even to be a moche of chochma. And he said that's the inyan of Bekias Haras Asim, that is going to be Me'ela Lamat. And he said that'll be Me'er together with the inyan of Chochmah. But then he goes on to say that he uses the expression on numerous occasions after that, that he says that the Atzmus inyan of Chochmah, he uses the expression B'she'etzem Prinus HaChochmah, the Chachim v'lei b'Chochmah Yadiyah Usha Nimshach. And the same with Mashiach. He seems to be implying that there's an inyan of Chochmah in Pnimis Ayin Keser, and that Chochmah is going to be Nimshach into either Shlomo Melech or into Mashiach. He said a few lines back that Madrega of Pnimis Keser, or L'mayla is there, which is going to be split, and that's Yetzim Adayim. He said that was L'mayla L'gamri Miliyesh, even a Mokir. To the inyan from Chochmah. He keeps saying that Kiru, what's going to be Miskala is the Chochmah Kamosha who Buze in the Ayin of Keser. And Ilu, he said that the Ayin of Keser is completely beyond being a mocker to the inyan from Chochmah. So, I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say that what's going to be Miskala is something which is completely beyond being a market to Chochmah. And he said, no, what's really going to be Miskala is Chochmah Kamoishu in that Madrega. And he says, Chachim v'lei v'chochmah yediyah, what we said earlier in the Hemshech, the Chachim v'lei v'chochmah yediyah is Chochmah Stimua, or Chaponim. So it can be Medatik, means a higher in Chochmah Stimua, that's Mamish Mekabel from Atik. Also, that's talking about Chochmah. And Tainug, Tainug, V'harotzen de Lamaila, like he said, the Lamaila from being a mocker to the in and a Chochmah. So, how does it all fit together? We keep saying that it's going to be Miskala, Chochmah, Kamoshu, Ba'ayin, the Kesser, Chochmah, this and Chochmah. That, if Etzema Doimim is going to come, then he's already said that's completely beyond the union of Chochmah. Then we said, in the middle, we say a slightly different idea, that the Etzema Tainug and the Chochmah are going to be killed together. They'll join together. And here he says, no, it's a Chochmah Kamoishu Kes. So what we have to say is like this. Well, the way to understand the changing of the Lashon is like I mentioned briefly in the other shiur, we'll just mention it very briefly again. And that is that the Indian of Chochmah, albeit it's a beginning of all the Seder, of all the Koiches, it's the first of the 10 spheres, the first of the 10 Koiches, Eitel HaOdam. But we see that the Indian from Chochmah comes in a very sort of strange and helendic way from the mind, which we call the Koich HaMaskil. We don't really understand how it happens. Chochmah me'ayin timotei. And then we say that because it comes from a parsa, and it's really Shach in Kesser, which is Chochmah Stimua, or Chochmah Stimua also goes as a parsa from even higher in Atik. Now Atik is already time. So how can you say that there's Chochmah in Atik? What's the deal with it? Or how can you say that really in the iron of Kesser there's also Chochmah, and that's what's going to be Nimshah? If it's raining, then it's not Chochmah. What is the union with it? And in fact, we pointed out the other night that the amazing thing is that the Odom, even though he begins with a Seder called Chochmah, and that's very, very definitive of the whole new phenomenon. The whole difference between him and all the other animals, all the other creations, is that he has Taka Chochmah. And Seichel, and eventually becomes a Bina, and I feel a Das, and that's where you get to see speech from, that's where you get Dibur from. You get Dibur from the highest, the El Torah is Mazbe Tanya, and the Geras HaKodesh, Simon Hay. What he's Mazbe, the Oisias that we speak in our Dibur, they come from Pnimis HaChochmah, Atzmis HaChochmah. So from that, the whole mahus of Adam is his Chochmah. Now if you look carefully in Perek Beis at the beginning of Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says that really the etzem neshama of a mensch, which is a chelek elokam mimah, where does it come from? Chochmah, right to Chochmah. Yeah, he says over there that who v'chochmah say, the Eifster and his Chochmah are all one, and that if your neshama is from Chochmah, that's from him. Who v'chochmah say, I mean, he says it's a chelek elokam mimah, and then it's Chochmah. So who Chochmah say echad of a mental, Chochmah say and who, are not mamish one and the same thing. No, he allows them to be united with him as it were. So ultimately speaking, we have to say that really Chochmah is really the Eiveshter, and that's what he says in Perek Yud Ches. Where does your whole Mesilas Nefesh, where is your whole union of a Yid and the whole Ramayla Mitam V'das of a Yid? Where does it all begin? Excuse me over there, but these guys, they've got a tiny that they're all horroring away in the bus of Cholov, and they're mixing the Chochmah and Kesser with pieces of basa flowing around in the Chaysten bus, and they're worried about a Chatik Atzman Asas Navela, and which of the Rishonim how to say, and Chaysten, they've got all sorts of problems. Over here, all you got is a few shlichus problems on your head. And that's only if I know you. If I don't, you sort of keep out of the way anyway. I mean, in a kosher way, come on. It's, so, you're talking, these guys are all wide awake, and you're talking the one that's schluffing. He's how do you call it, exhibiting his socks and his feet over there. So we have to assume that they're very well washed and they're very well prepared for Gilui in public. It said, "Kommt sie gehen darf je de schleer en schlaft." What sort of a Gilui al-Chokmah is that? Anyway, very briefly, is in Iron Base, the Rebbe's got the whole famous portion, what I mentioned briefly, that really it's all one like mixture achas. It's like the menorah was all made out of one piece of gold. It was just different, all one piece, mamish. So the same thing, everything is one piece. The atmos of the Eibishter, the atmos of his Oinig, the atmos of his Chokhmah, and for that matter, the atmos of his Bina. It's all him. It's all one. And it just like it were, it changes. It changes fate. It just faces in the etim in Iron Base. The Rebbe says that really Chokhmah is Oinig. Really Chokhmah is like a lavush, but not a lavush. He said a lavush is like a separate thing that you put on. Or this is like a lavush menei ubeh. It's like a face that Chokhmah puts on itself. I'm sorry, Oinig puts on and becomes Chokhmah. And therefore you see when you gain some new inyan in Chol, I explained the other night, you become full with a Chokhmah, which is almost incomparable to any other Oinig that a mensch has in this world. There was any grasp something that's been beyond him for a long time. It's a tremendous gilui that his whole being is, as it were, nitfas in that tremendous revelation of the Oinig. Because the Chokhmah and the Oinig are really one thing. They're different. It's like a different face. It's a lavush, but it's not a lavush amalim. It's like the expression has it in Tanya, lavushe meneu. There's a snail or a what do you call him, a porcupine or a chayson was that he and his lavush are all one. On the contrary, his lavush is him. Edifa, that's what it's like with this sin. And therefore, the Rebbe says, the pnimis ha'oinev ha'rotzen. Rotzen is already a bit of another story. We've got enough on our hands at the moment. If I won't go too much into Rotzen, the etzem ha'oineg, so the Rebbe is going to be revealed. If etzem ha'oineg is going to be revealed, then etzem ha'chokhmah will be revealed. Pirush, where chokhmah really begins its change from oineg to Chokhmah, and that's in Keser itself, that's in Oinig itself. Oinig itself does the work its own self. It turns its Oinig into a thing called Chokhmah, which means that the Eibishter's, as it were, pleasure and his Chokhmah in everything he did, is your Chokhmah. That's your whole union, the way you agree him, the Eibishter, his Nachas Ruach in the creation, if you use your wisdom for the right thing. In other words, Haskell v'yadoya oi, the whole union is to appreciate the Eibishter. And if the Rambam and everybody is very braggers, and the Rabbeim and everybody very braggers about using your mind in things which are not eloquent, like in Chochmas Chitayni. So much of what the Rambam did, so the Alter Rebbe says, well, yes, he did, but he used it for the sake of Gilui Elokus in the world. That the Rambam used those inyanim to bring more Gilui Elokus in the world. If you can't do it that way, then maybe it's better you stay away. Because that's not the type of usage of that lavush which was really meant. And the first is that what's going to happen? Liosid is the way that Chokhmah and Oinig are really making themselves into a union in order to give further lamata into the kavanah, the Eibshter, or that ponim of the Chokhmah, how it's really that's going to be revealed. The way they really are to, and Eitzel Odom, it's going to be that he uses his Chokhmah, and then there's going to be a gilui of that Oinig in him, and they will not just swallow one or the other, and they won't be they'll be like two inyanim. He'll be a mensch, and then they'll have the inyan of emes Chokhmah and emes Oinig of the Eibishter all together. And it won't be, he'll be like a mensch. And yet, nonetheless, you'll have all those inyanim together, because ultimately speaking, they're really one and the same inyan. They're really all the same. And therefore, that's the view. If you study carefully the whole piece, you'll see that the Rebbe keeps saying, this, it's a Tainug, and then all of a sudden, Chochma Kamoshu Bekesa, that was what was Meir and Shlomo. But wait a minute, was it the Tainug, was it Chochma, what was it? Because ultimately speaking, the Tainug and the Chochma are all one thing. They're basically speaking one thing. One is only like another way of looking, Klape Mata, looking down for the sake of the ultimate purpose of Hashem. Therefore, that was a person like Shlomo, and therefore Shlomo was the perfect man. And it's brought down that if he would have, unfortunately, it appears it's hard for us to understand how it happened, but he had a certain, if you read Shlomo, it's always so, agonizing when you learn these unbelievable things. And it was also a slight, you read it, some of the base of Mikdash, 400 years is unbelievable, something didn't click right, and unfortunately, kach v'kach. Then another try, we come back with the Beis Hamikdash. The Arizal says that the way the world was in Yerushalayim and in the Beis Hamikdash, and under Malchus Shlomo, and the whole kingship of Shlomo HaMelech was one step under what it's going to be like when Moshe will come. So great was the good, and the world was in such a matav all around Eretz Yisrael, and all the other kings came to Shlomo. He didn't go looking for anybody. He just sat where he didn't make war with anybody. They all came to him looking for giving him presents, but all sorts of inyanim that brought down. It was the birurim, with the different inyanim, with those goyim, v'chulu v'chulu. Unfortunately, there was a certain slip, something didn't sort of click right at a certain point.
What was it?
You have to know everything, my son. Oh, it's what they call, it's hard to say, it's difficult to say. It was what they call the other species. But to say that we understand it, we don't understand it. Because he didn't get mixed up in the whole Indian. Shlomo HaMelech got involved in it because of the Indian, of the greatness of the kingship and the bureau of the whole Malchus, the whole bureau was there. And somehow or another, something didn't click there. There was a certain sort of, you read it, it's very hard to read the Pesach. You can't be masik. How Hashem let that little Yerida occur, and then all of a sudden, boom, another Yerida occurred somewhere else. It really wasn't what it was. But for those few years, the way it was, the Arizal says that was mamish. One madrega, one bechina underneath the Shleimus Kolabri. They say the Kisvei Arita. So it's amazing in Yonah. That and Moshiach is going to be the same meaning. Rom v'nisa odyoter. Odyoter. And therefore, what's going to be seen in Moshiach is that he's just going to reveal in Yonah the way they are mitzad Elokus. And therefore, I challenge anybody to take a inyan from the Rebbe, whether it be in a Maimah or even in the Sichas, ein avdel, famous, and just take a certain inyan from the Rebbe and study it carefully, and you'll see that that's not a normal thing. It's not normal. Because it's not just a pilpul or a seichel, it's like a gilui atzmi, that it's got chokhmah, but you hear elokus in it, you hear it, that's elokus. And if I give you a simple example, I don't want to wander off on separate tracks. The Rebbe said the whole problem in Eretz Yisrael, ever since the 6 Day War, the whole problem is the problem of Pikuach Nefesh. It doesn't mean the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael is a tremendous thing. It doesn't mean the Kedusha of Yerushalayim. It doesn't mean the Kedusha of the Shomron and all the other places. You can't give people like the Arabs those places, because there'll be an unbelievable sakona on the whole Jewish people alidei if you do that. And it's simple, two us four. And look at what happened as soon as they gave him Gush Katif, bombs and bombs and bombs. Belisa. And the only reason they've stopped recently, because they think they're going to get it all maybe without throwing the bombs for the moment. Or once they get it all, they stay clear, they're going to throw. Well, and they're going to get it in a few weeks. And so what's this Meshuggah do? He comes along, he gets all these Charedim in Yerushalayim, he makes also a Chilul Shabbos, a huge Chilul Shabbos. A big general store, what they call a canyon that he built somewhere there. All of a sudden he got it working on Shabbos. So all the Haredim go out in millions into the street, they'll come Shabbos, and they're making a huge war. He's up to right. He's got them all busy, and so next week there's another big group. What's going to be with the fight in Jerusalem this week? There's going to be the police, there's going to be the Haredim, and there's huge, all the papers are full of all the Haredi press is full of it, and everybody talks about it. And what's he doing? Every day he's talking with the Palestinians, another piece. He's giving it all back to them little by little. They're just waiting for the day when they're just going to move it. Jerusalem is going to be given away, the Koisel, everything. So at the moment, what he says is they're going to put the Koisel in the charge of an international council. You know what that means. That's where all the Torahs have ever been. That's what he said. Instead of, so the Rebbe said, the Tuchim Meisim, Chilul Shabbos, all these things are all very important, but that's only for Lebedik Yidden, it's for people who are alive. Oh, if you're not going to be alive, what is it? The first we're going to worry about Pikuach Nefesh. And the Rebbe brought him a Sif in Shulchan Aruch with a Ramah. You forget the Alter Rebbe explains it beautifully. Oh, you might, I don't take the Alter. Oh, but everybody said they believe in the Ramah. And you show to these people, all they say is, Shtusim Bavali. I taught a few of them in Bible, I showed it to them. That's Shtusim Bavali. So I said, Shulchan Aruch, what's supposed to do? That was when, but it wasn't, I said, but it's the Zman Hazeh. And I said, no, that was in the Zman Habayit. I said, the Zman Habayit? Sorry. The Alter Rebbe doesn't write the Shulchan Aruch for the Zman Habayit. The Beis Yosef says in his Hakdamah that he doesn't put anything in the Shulchan Aruch which got to do with Moshiach. Only things that was Zman Hazeh. That's always Zman Hazeh. They have no answer. They will not answer you. They'll use all sorts of terms like shtus, hevel, al tagid zelo shayach, but they don't actually answer. Well, that's not good. And the Rebbe said, I'm waiting for somebody to tell me why that sif in the Shulchan Aruch does not apply. And he never got an answer. And that is Chokhmah Shleimah. That is the Etzem Chokhmah. How it is in Kesser come down into the world. It's simple. When you heard Chokhmah Shleimah, when you heard Shlomo Melech say something, you said to yourself, oh, Yavol, that's so simple. Why didn't I think of that? And like if you read an Emes of Chiddush in the Gemara, sometimes you read Lamoshel Aritvo, or the Arashpo, the Emes of Rishonim, or the Ran, the Ran on the Gemara, the Nemuviyes of all of them. You read a little bit and say, oh, Yafalt, that's just so obvious, Why didn't I think of that? For was because Etzem HaChochmah K'moshehu, B'Pnimis HaTainu, that's what he meant for the world. He meant it for people down here. He made that whole Chochmah should be for the people down here. Not for him up there. And therefore, when you hear that, you hear divinity and you hear simple, understandable matters. But at the same time, you hear divinity. And that's what what the Rebbe said is simple. 2 and 2 is 4. You've got all the army, you've got all the weapons. Just don't let them in. Just put them all back. Throw them all back into their own countries. And then say, you guys want peace? Okay, let's talk peace. Well, first of all, you have the whole earth, so it belongs to you. You put their heads in the mud. And then you say to them, okay, we'll talk peace. And then an Arab will come in, he'll talk peace. Then he'll talk peace. Oh, but this way, you just bring Heres and Sakona, Rachmoni, to the whole people, the whole Jewish people. And you pick up one of the Haredi newspapers, not a word about it. Politics and all the money and all that. Not a word. So that's what it means. That is the pshat. That the Chokhmah, how it is, in Pnimis ve'atzmis Oinig, that means what the Eibishter meant with the whole Bria. Yisav Eloi Yisbarach Dira B'tach Toinim, and he made it come down in a way that will eventually become you in your cycle, but it's really him. This is our lane. And to be, you've got to be pure and disinterested, and then you learn that way, is you learn the instructions of the Eibishter, the way he meant to be for everybody, and that's the best possible thing. And Shlomo Melech was like that for a good few years, until unfortunately it was this strange and a figure that we don't really understand how that happened. And for those few years, that's exactly how it worked. And the father's this whole story of Shlomo HaMelech. These two women came, the story of it, and they had a baby. So Shlomo HaMelech just said, okay guys, bring in a sword and we'll cut the child into two. All of a sudden the lady was really, she went out of her mind, That's very simple. I mean, it's mamish 2 and 2 is 4, but who would possibly dream of such a way out? Chochmah Elokis. I mean, that's the Rebbe. Whenever you heard the Rebbe speak, it was 2 and 2 is 4. And that's what we're trying to bring over here. Well, that's what I'm trying to indicate to you guys. That the Rebbe uses different terms because it's all one and the same thing. Elokus and Chochmah and Bina are all Elokus. And therefore there's an Nefesh Elokis which is got up. The whole trouble is, where does worldly cycle start? With a Nefesh HaBahamis. And the Eibishter made this tremendous Nisoya, and then you got this other Nefesh, where he tells you all the Lokshen, what the world says. He tells you what the Yeshvei Koronas, how they call them, the guys that sit around Sunday morning on the street corners and Chappah Shmuels, and what do they say? Oh, that's your Nefesh HaBahamis. Oh, you want to know what the Yeshvei Koronas are? Listen to your Nefesh HaBahamis. Simple as all that. And what you got to do is just be able to go beyond all that cycle, the Nefesh HaBahamis. It's just simple. It's just marvelous. It's a new world. And that's what the Rebbe says. That Shlomo HaMelech was just like that. And Moshiach is going to be exactly like that. And he's going to be tremendously high. Everybody's going to hear Moshiach and they say, oh, you're tough. He's not going to have to teach you ganze pools and ganze, he's just going to show Berea. It's going to be so clear that everybody can see it. Moshiach just sent a few emails or something around the world, and everybody said, oh, I can see it, And that's what it's going to be. Those are the Moshiach, these Rom, Venisa, V'gavoya, Adme, V'chein binyan ha'oros oyer atzilas B'brio. Once we got it down into Malchus, it's going to come over into Bria. Kamoisha hi b'atzilas mamish b'li havdoles mosoch klau. There's not going to be any more curtains or mosochs between Malchus Tatzilas and Bria. And remember, you got it down to Malchus Tatzilas, it's going to come down into Bria, and it'll eventually enter the mind of every Yid. We're going to see later on, it eventually becomes a property of our Yidden. And Dahainu, Mamish B'li Avdoles, Ukamesh Kosuv, V'lo Yikonev Oid Moirecha, that literally, your teacher will not be covered by a wing anymore. He won't use his wings to cover himself, but he will be revealed, as it were. There won't be a wing or a covering, but Elokus with this mamish begili uksiv v'nigla kveid Hashem v'ro kol bosa ki pi Hashem diber. Well, that's I think in the Haftarah from Shabbos Tshuva, no? They took that. That's in the what does Shabbos Tshuva tell you about when you're supposed to really chop what's going on? In the Seres Yemei Tshuva, what's written? Unigle kveid avaya v'ro kol bosa. Everybody, how they are just flesh. In other words, here for the moment he's teaching kol bosa means all hidden. Everybody's going to be a shtikul novi. And kol bosa means people that are in fleshly bodies, with what you might call fleshly holdback, fleshly, limitations, and yet nonetheless they're going to have mamish gile anavua. There's a pasuk in Yoel, vo eshpeich es ruchi al kol basar v'nibu b'neichem u b'nei seichem. I'm going to pour my ruach, literally pour it. Pour it means it's going to take it k'moishu. You guys are familiar with the kli al kli. If you pour something in one kli and the other, and it goes k'moishu. Yeah, k'moishu. Shvicha means to pour it over. Yeah, k'moishu, into the ruach of every flesh, even ordinary people up to now they've been eating from flesh. V'nibu b'neichem u b'nei sechem, and your children will be neviim. Yeah, in other words, children. V'loi k'moi yizgalas hanavua shehoya ala neviim shehoya b'derech pele. Yeah, l'mayla me'ateva. It was an unusual and wondrous thing. He had to push away all spiritual, fleshly aspects of himself, and he had to be completely, as they say in Yiddish, oisgiton von Gashmis. Had he could completely mufshat legami and had he could elevate it out of anything Gashmias. It's written by the Nevi'im, that's written by Yecheskel. I know when he saw the Merkava Alien, I saw it, I couldn't take it, I fell on my face, I spiders of the Indian. Moshe, only Moshe, what he's called Adoin Kol HaNevi'im, he's called the Lord of all the Nevi'im, Hoya Oimed Al Omdoi, Mipnei Shegam Gufoi, Hoya B'chinas Bittel Kamayana, Shoma, Hoya Mushat Min HaGeshem, he was taking Mushat Min HaGeshem the whole time. Yeah, Gam Mitzad HaGuf. Not that he had a guf that was shy to Geshem, he had to get out of the Geshem, no, he out of the world, he just ordinary, in his body he was Mushat Min HaGeshem. And remember, Baal, he was Mushat Min HaGeshem, he could just take Nevuah any time. Any moment he was able to be Makabal the Nevuah. The other Nevi'im had to go through certain preparatory stages, and then between Nevuah and Nevuah they had to, as it were, re-prepare. By Moshe Rabbeinu it wasn't like that. Isn't that amazing? Sheyove b'chinas oyer eloki hanelam b'chinas tivius b'yilodim v'yeh yilodei Val geschrigen. Yeah, the little girls and little boys will be walking around talking on the level of Nevuah. So you might say, well, I've already heard that before. Where did you hear about it?
The Gemara that says that Nevuah is in the hands of children, Tipshim, and...
Yeah, so it was up to Tipshim. We hope there won't be any Tipshim around anymore. Where do we see that there was Nevuah by children?
In Purim, with Mordechai.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, because the Haman asked him to say the psukim, and they said psukim which were very nogeh, yeah.
One of the novices.
One of the novices, yeah, he was very young, could be. I don't know if his mom yelled it. Yeah, so it's written in the Zohar Kodesh, the whole Perek Lamed Hey and the whole rest of Tanya quotes what's called the Yenoika. Yeah, the Yenoika. What is a Yenoika? A Yenoika means a little kid, a small child. And they used to say the most amazing things. It's put down in the Zohar that they said Seidas, which even the big Rabbanim, Talmudim of Rashbi, were able to get. You know, the famous man said, was the Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda, they went gathering money for Haknos Skala. And they was in such a hurry that they didn't say Krishma. And they met up with one of these Yenoikas, and he said, well, and he said, I'm sorry, you guys, I can't get close to you guys. I'll talk to you from a distance. And they said, what's that? My ear. He said, because I can smell in your garments that you guys didn't read Christmas. There's not proper smell coming from you guys. It tells me that you didn't read Kriyat Shema. I said, how on earth did you know? How did you know? He said, because whenever somebody doesn't read Krishma, that's what we did it in a kosher way, because we were busy. Oh, he's a mitzvah, potter min a mitzvah. He said, yeah, but it's Krishma. There's a whole big beer in the citizens. Why is Krishma different? The whole big amazing thing. Oh, anyway, whatever. We see from that there was such brought down in Siddhas that because Rashbi, he was close to the. You see, they didn't say Chodlila. Doesn't matter. It's because Rashbi was close to the time of the Beis Hamikdash, and he was there. Such unbelievable gilui of Chokmah, mina shamayim. Therefore, it was kilo the whole matzav how it's going to be liosid, and the matzav how it was in the Beis Hamikdash kilo joined together, and it caused a tremendous pouring out of Elokus, and even the Yaneka, there were several of them, not just one. There were these Yanekas that they managed to for tremendous Seder Satira, and that's brought down into it was like Nevuah. That there's no other hezbollah that it was B'derech Nevuah. So we're going to leave you now with Vera Epel Panai. Over here's a bomb. Rak Moshe and Jan. Oh, I thought it was that. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Yeah. Is you come over Yolodim v'Yolodes. Yeah. Now look at this one. Moshe Hoya Ruach Elokim B'Doire Shel Adam Arishan Shinikro B'nei Elokim Mami. Wow. So I'm going to leave it for you guys. I'm sure you go to the Samech Tes tomorrow. I'm sure you want to visit the whole night with a beer and a maimon siddhas. That'll be as cool if it be much. Anyway, the Bnei Elokim, if you look carefully in the Pesukim, the Bnei Elokim are strange figures over there. It's a little bit hard to work out, but they want altogether a positive, at first glance. There's certain things that happened for them that didn't seem to be the most elevated and best thing. If you look up over there, right at the end of Bereshis, Mamish, right at the end of Bereshis, you see the Bnei Elokim are mentioned 2 or 3 times. Rashi learns over there, one shot who they were. And the Ramban learns pictures of Rashi, almost the same thing, and maybe just a little bit different. But take a look in the Ebenezer. The Ebenezer, he has something to say. And in the Ebenezer, you click in, it's like clicking on the computer into the Rebbe. It's got a different approach here to these Bnei Elokim. And what appears to be these negative things in the Torah was Ein Chanami, that maybe they had on a Philippine to see with certain things we don't understand. Was meant to be that way. It had to be as on the feeling, and we're not able to understand. Actually, Roma, it was like that. Just like the Beis Hamikdash, we don't understand. Well, you got to understand. Take me out when Moshiach will come. Take me out mamish, and that's the union of these Bnei Elokim. So it's a whole amazing hint that I was thrown here in that bracket. A whole new idea in this Bnei Elokim. Okay, guys.
Did you give away